In this video, I'm going to be showing you how we get cost per conversions of below $40 for a medical practice out in Sacramento, California. And so just a caveat that this is being recorded right after the Christmas holiday. And as everyone knows, you don't book doctor's appointments around the Christmas holiday. So we are seeing a little bit of a decrease during the Christmas holiday, but anyone who runs Google Ads will know that there's always a drop off for these types of services and including business services as well around this time. So that being said, our performance has stayed pretty strong even the month before, so might as well throw that in there. You can see cost per conversion stayed pretty strong for the past couple of months. Just started working with this client a couple months ago, so can't go back too much farther. Yeah, this is about when we started working with them, and then I guess we can go all the way back to the start of the year. They've been running ads for a while now, but they started up with us about 3 months ago. And as you can see, their performance absolutely jumped when they started working with us. You can just see that the number of conversions spiked drastically, cost per conversion dropped off. Anyways, enough about how awesome we are. Now to show you kind of how we set up this campaign. So this is one of our clients that spends not a ton of money. So for this practice, it is a sizable sum. We're spending around $4,000 a day, but most of the budgets we typically work with are at least $5,000. That's kind of more the minimum that we work with. But this is a business that we've been talking to for several months, and they worked with another agency because they thought that they were getting a better deal with them, and quite frankly, they were getting a much better financial deal. However, the performance absolutely sucks. As you could see when they were running ads before us versus when they started running ads with us, performance, there's just a crazy difference in the performance from when they started working with us. So the way we have this campaign set up is, for one, we've integrated with our CRM. This is always the first thing I recommend in pretty much every video, is making sure that your Google Ads are set up to receive data from your CRM. Otherwise, you're going to be feeding it lower quality data, and if you're doing that, you're going to get lower quality results, because when you show Google that, hey, when somebody clicks on this button on our website, it's a conversion, they're going to get lots of people to click on that button. However, you're not going to see the conversions that are actually turning into revenue for your business nearly as often as you would like. So we'll just kind of go in and just show you that the way we've broken out the ad group. So we just have general keywords right here, and to kind of show you what those general keywords are, we'll jump into that. So they are more of a holistic medical clinic. So alternative health and natural medicine is most often what people are looking for. In my other most recent video, also about a health practice on the dental side of things, I was showing how broad match was outperforming the other match types, and because we had a limited budget here, we didn't go in and test match types as much here. We did at the beginning experiment with it, but we didn't leave that experiment on for too long because we don't have the budget to test and for extended periods of time, whereas we like to do that with a lot of our clients that have more budget, because a lot of times you will get more surefire results that way. The more time and data you're able to collect to make decisions, the better your decision making will be. However, some clients, you just don't got that kind of time, you don't got that kind of money, so you gotta make decisions a little bit quicker with a little bit less data. So as you can see here, broad match setup. We don't typically like to use too many broad match keywords in our accounts. However, as you can see here, CPCs are staying relatively low. If we go and just look at the last 30 days, sorry for the jump cut, we're seeing around 15 or so keywords that are actually getting clicks. And quite frankly, this can continue to be improved by reducing the number of keywords that we have, so that way the data is getting split up less often. However, once we find something that works, we don't like to often break it until we start to see that it is no longer working. Basically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, especially if you don't have the budget to test. And this client heavily relies on the leads we generate for their business in order to keep their practice open. So when it comes to the testing and iteration, you have to be a lot more careful, especially on smaller budget, smaller accounts, smaller businesses. One thing this business did have a big issue with was spam leads, and they got a lot of that from Performance Max. We did try out Performance Max in this account with our own setup, but we found that the performance just wasn't nearly as high. We weren't getting high quality traffic to our site, so that's why we are running search and not Performance Max for this client. When we're looking at the headlines, a lot of times we don't like to use all of the headline options because we want to essentially give Google only the best possible headlines for it to use. However, we've basically found that these headlines fully encompass all of the important factors about the business. The big thing that I like to point out is using this dynamic keyword insertion. It's very beneficial for most businesses to implement this into their headlines because it allows you to show headlines that directly represent exactly what the person is searching for. So whatever it is that they search into Google, it gets automatically put in as a headline into your ad. So when somebody looks up alternative health-based clinic in Sacramento, that type of dynamic keyword insertion will put that exact search into our headline. So somebody will be like, oh, this ad is specifically designed for me. And then as you can go through here, you can see we've got the assets and such added as you typically do. Making sure you've got a couple different site links in here is always going to be beneficial. I don't always use all the asset types because some they just don't apply. I don't typically like to use the messaging option just because the quality of lead is typically a little bit lower. We've got our callouts here. Structured snippets, I can have them, I can not. It doesn't really affect the performance of the account all that much, especially when we've got a limited budget and we're operating more on a budget here. We need to make sure that the time that we spend in the account is dedicated more towards the things that are going to make 20% changes in the account performance as opposed to 2% changes in the account performance. So going back up, the final thing I want to show you is just the campaign settings, just so you can see exactly how we typically have it set up. So as you saw, our current cost per conversion is around $36. We're shooting for $30. I typically don't say have it any farther away than 20% of what your actual cost per conversion is, because otherwise you're going to be choking Google's algorithm and forcing it towards a result that it just isn't able to do at the moment with the data that it has. If it could get you a lower cost per conversion that quickly, it probably would have already. So you've got to slowly but surely push Google down with that target CPA, conversion goals, making sure that those, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, are linked to your CRM, or if not, you are targeting phone call leads as one of your primary conversions, because it's hard to fake a phone call to your business, especially if you set the limit to a certain time value that represents, hey, somebody has to be on the phone for this long in order for it to be an actual lead. Otherwise, it's just someone spam calling me, and we hang up instantly on those. So if you're not able to set up a connection to your CRM, doing something like that, I'll show that briefly. So the way you can get to what I just pulled up is go into goals, go to summary, and then click on the conversion event, and you'll be able to see the call length that it is set to. So in order for it to count as a conversion for this client, the lead needs to be on the phone for at least 60 seconds. And if they're not on the phone for 60 seconds, Google says it's not a conversion. And the reason why this is beneficial is because if somebody calls in and they say, hey, I'm looking for your services near me, and they tell you their address, and they're like, oh, we can't help you. You hang up before that 60 seconds is up. Google will not count that as a conversion. They will not count that as a qualified lead, and they won't target people similar to them in the future. Whereas if you leave this value lower, you'll end up targeting a lot more people that are interested in your services or confused about your services and calling you, and you having to just answer the phone, tell them, hey, we can't help you, and then you hang up after, say, if it's set to 30 seconds, you hang up after 35 seconds. Google's like, oh, perfect, that was a conversion. They're going to send more people to you like that. So good data in, good results out is kind of the motto that I live by in my Google accounts. So we'll go back to the settings real quick. So networks, always make sure to have these turned off. You get a lot of garbage placements here. You got the budget to test it, I don't mind testing the search network. Never test the display network. If you want to run display ads, set up a display campaign. No point in doing otherwise. Marketing objective, leads, I can go give or take with this. My typical recommendation for listening to Google's recommendations is ignore them almost entirely, or make sure you've got a solid foundation in your understanding of Google Ads before you look at them. Otherwise, they will skew your perspective of how your campaign is performing and lead you to make changes that are beneficial for Google spending your budget, but not beneficial for you getting results in the account. Another jump cut to look at the negative keywords. So something I always recommend is being relatively limited in the number of broad match negative keywords that you use, unless it is very obviously a keyword that you run into very frequently that is going to be a waste of ad spend 100% of the time and could not possibly be misconstrued with your services that you offer, because sometimes what you run into, you put in a negative keyword that's broad match, and you end up preventing people from seeing your ads that otherwise would. So if somebody's looking up for free healthcare near me and you put in the broad match keyword, negative keyword free, but somebody looks up for free consultation near me that you offer, you won't show for that person even though you do offer those services. So that's why you got to be careful when you add broad match negative keywords, making sure that you're very precise and you know exactly why you're excluding specific negative keywords. Another thing I recommend, you should have hundreds of negative keywords in your account, especially if you're running broad match. As you can see here, this account's a little bit smaller, so we've only got around 220, and when I say only, some of our accounts have over 1,000 negative keywords, because we're just continually refining the searches that we're allowing Google to show for. So that's something that you should pretty much always be adding to, because Google is always trying to find new ways to show your ads, and you should always be finding new ways to tell Google stop it. Only show my ads to the people that are actually converting. I could probably go into significantly more depth on this account. Like I mentioned, I've just kind of showed the brief overview of how we set up this account. If you got any more questions or you want me to go in even more in depth for this specific account, I'd be more than happy to. Just comment below. I'll make a video if just one person comments that they want me to. But if you're looking for help with running ads for any type of service-based business, especially in the medical space, we've got lots of experience there. You can go check out our case studies, testimonials, and specifically in that field and in other fields, because lots of people trust us to run their ads. So hopefully this video helps you, or if you're looking to get help with your ads, please feel free to reach out, comment below, shoot us an email. We'd be more than happy to answer your question. So hope to see you in the next video.